In 2025, Iran remains one of the most heavily sanctioned nations in the world. Its nuclear ambitions are moving forward. Its Revolutionary Guard casts a long shadow over the Middle East, and the global balance of power is shifting. While much of the world distances itself, some nations still stand behind Tehran, openly or quietly. But who are they, and why? From powerful military allies to surprising trade partners, this video uncovers the 10 countries still backing Iran in 2025, and how their support could impact global diplomacy, oil markets, and the everyday lives of people from the Philippines to India to the United States. Stay tuned till the end. Country number 7 may genuinely shock you. Let's get started. Country number 10, Russia. In 2025, Russia still describes Iran as an essential strategic partner. A 20-year cooperation deal deepened intelligence sharing, defense coordination, and even led to a joint satellite program. Russia supplies Iran with drones and missile technology, while Iran provides ammunition and surveillance support for Moscow's war in Ukraine. But this alliance has limits. Russia holds back its most advanced weapons, like the Su-35 jets and S-400 systems, due to both production issues and Western pressure. Despite the public friendship, Moscow is focused on its own war front and won't risk direct escalation on Iran's behalf. Still, this partnership affects everyone. Russia's refusal to enforce Western sanctions gives Iran breathing room to support regional proxies. And when conflict spreads in the Middle East, global oil prices rise, affecting everyday budgets in fuel-importing countries like the Philippines and India. With thousands of overseas workers in Gulf nations, Filipino families could feel the ripples of regional instability. While Russia benefits from high oil prices, the question remains, how long can the Kremlin afford this entanglement, especially if global retaliation intensifies? Country number 9, China. China is Iran's economic anchor. Under a sweeping 25-year deal, China now purchases nearly 90% of Iran's oil exports. To sidestep sanctions, this crude often enters as disguised shipments, labeled as originating from Malaysia or elsewhere. Chinese firms also invest heavily in Iran's railways, pipelines, and tech sectors. Beijing justifies this by rejecting unilateral sanctions, calling them illegal. But their motivation is strategic too, ensuring uninterrupted energy supplies from the Middle East and expanding influence through the Belt and Road Initiative. China sees Iran as a vital partner for both. For the Philippines and India, this relationship has real stakes. Any flare-up in the Strait of Hormuz, where a fifth of global oil passes, could spike prices in Manila and Mumbai. China's shield around Iran also weakens global efforts to control Tehran's nuclear program, raising security concerns, especially for India. Still, even Beijing must tread carefully. Chinese assets in Iran are vulnerable to future sanctions or armed conflict. Is China playing the long game, or walking a tightrope it can't afford to fall from? Country number 8, Syria. Syria was once Iran's closest Arab ally, especially during its brutal civil war. Iran invested billions in propping up President Bashar al-Assad, deploying troops and training local militias. But things changed dramatically in late 2024, when Assad's government fell. The new Syrian leadership has distanced itself from Tehran, pivoting toward Turkey, the Gulf, and the West. Despite this shift, Iran hasn't disappeared from the scene. Shia militias still operate in Syria, and the land corridor between Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon remains intact. Religious shrines and Hezbollah's presence continue to tie Syria to Iran. For India and the Philippines, Syria matters because instability there can ripple across oil routes and migration channels. Any future conflict, especially involving Iran-backed forces, could disrupt crude supplies, or trigger new waves of refugees. For Filipino and Indian workers in neighboring countries, such shifts could affect security and employment opportunities. But Iran's influence is no longer guaranteed. Tehran is watching from the sidelines, unsure of its next move. Can Iran regain its foothold in Syria, or is this one Middle East partner slipping away?
Country number 7. Iraq. Iraq may surprise many. It's not just a neighbor, but a deeply intertwined partner of Iran. Shiite political blocs, including the Popular Mobilization Forces, gained ground in Iraq's 2023 elections, with 101 out of 285 council seats. Many of these groups align closely with Iran's religious and military leadership. Economically, Iraq relies on Iran for over 30% of its electricity and 40% of its natural gas. U.S. efforts to sever this dependency have struggled. While Baghdad talks of diversifying its energy, Iranian imports still flow, and so does influence. This tight connection impacts viewers across Asia. Iraq is a significant oil supplier to India and the Philippines. Any fallout from Iran-related tensions, such as militia attacks on U.S. bases or internal conflict, could hurt Iraq's oil output and shake global markets. Filipino and Indian workers in the region may also face heightened risk. While Iraq walks a fine line between Iran and the U.S., its current alignment leans heavily eastward. The bigger question, will it remain neutral or get pulled deeper into Iran's orbit?
Country 6. Venezuela.
Venezuela and Iran share more than sanctions. They share a strategic alliance built on resisting U.S. influence. In early 2025, both countries revived a dormant free trade pact and launched new energy and military deals. Caracas even added Iranian anti-ship missiles to its navy, a bold signal to Washington. Energy defines their bond. Venezuela ships heavy crude to Iran, while Iran helps repair Venezuela's broken refineries. Together they form a counterweight to Western-dominated oil markets. For viewers in India and the Philippines, this matters. If either nation faces tighter sanctions or supply chain attacks, fuel prices could rise globally. A sudden shock in Venezuela, triggered by Iran-linked retaliation, would hit Asian consumers hard, especially those already coping with inflation. But Venezuela's economy is fragile. Can it sustain this partnership, or will the cost of defying the West eventually become too steep?
Country 5. North Korea. Two of the world's most isolated nations, North Korea and Iran, continue to quietly support each other in 2025. Though geographically distant, their partnership runs deep, especially in military cooperation. Pyongyang is suspected of providing Iran with long-range missile technology, and intelligence reports suggest that missile components used by Iran resemble North Korea's Nodong-class systems. In April 2024, North Korea sent its first official economic delegation to Tehran since the pandemic, reaffirming ties. More alarmingly, some 7,000 containers of munitions reportedly traveled from North Korea to Russia through Iranian logistical networks. These developments have caught the attention of military analysts across Asia. This covert partnership raises global security concerns. Any new weapons tests, whether ballistic or nuclear, by either country could trigger reactions from South Korea, Japan, or even the United States. For India and the Philippines, increased tensions in Asia could impact trade routes, supply chains, and economic stability. Rising militarization also brings higher regional defense spending, money that might otherwise be spent on development. While both countries benefit from mutual support, their path remains dangerous. The world is watching. The question is, can North Korea afford to remain Tehran's shadow partner if the global backlash intensifies? Country 4. Pakistan.
Pakistan walks a diplomatic tightrope in 2025. It maintains strong ties with the Gulf and the West, but has shown growing solidarity with Iran, particularly during periods of conflict. Following Israeli strikes on Iranian territory, Pakistan's leaders, including Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, condemned the attacks and expressed unwavering support for the Iranian people. In parliament, voices criticizing U.S. and Israeli policies have grown louder. Behind the scenes, trade is quietly thriving. Iran's non-oil exports to Pakistan exceeded $2.4 billion in the past year, despite sanctions. And Islamabad remains interested in completing the long-delayed Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline, a project Washington has strongly opposed. Domestic energy needs may be pushing Pakistan closer to Tehran. For Indian viewers, this partnership complicates regional geopolitics. Pakistan, sharing a border with both India and Iran, sits at a sensitive intersection of diplomacy and security. For Filipinos, it's another piece of the puzzle in a Middle East already under strain, where hundreds of thousands of overseas workers from both nations reside and send remittances home. Pakistan's balancing act is impressive, but how long can it keep walking the line before choosing a side?
Country number 3, Turkey. Turkey's relationship with Iran is one of rivalry and reluctant alignment. In 2025, Turkish President Erdogan has taken strong stances against Israel's actions in Gaza and Iran, denouncing them as state terrorism. At a NATO summit, he warned that these strikes could sabotage peace talks and lead to all-out war in the region. Despite its NATO membership and strong ties with Ukraine and the West, Turkey's rhetoric often echoes Iran's. Ankara hasn't formally joined an anti-Iran coalition. Instead, it positions itself as a regional power broker, denouncing conflict, calling for peace, and keeping energy pipelines flowing. It's a pragmatic approach that puts Turkish interests first. Turkey's geographic position is critical. It's a major transit hub for oil and gas heading toward Europe and Asia. If tensions involving Iran spread to Turkish territory, supply chains to India and the Philippines could be disrupted. This would raise energy prices and possibly even affect food imports and manufacturing costs. Erdogan's support for Iran isn't unconditional, but it reflects growing dissatisfaction with Western foreign policy in the region. Whether this posture is sustainable depends on how far the crisis escalates. Country number 2, Qatar. Qatar offers one of the most nuanced examples of diplomacy in today's Middle East. As a staunch U.S. ally, it hosts Washington's largest military base in the region. Yet, as Iran's neighbor, it also maintains active dialogue with Tehran. In June 2025, after Iran launched a missile strike near the U.S. base in Qatar, Doha's leaders expressed deep concern, but stopped short of condemning Iran outright. Qatar positions itself as a mediator. From the Israel-Iran ceasefire to back-channel negotiations between the U.S. and Tehran, Doha often acts as a bridge, walking a tight line between influence and neutrality. This balancing act has kept Qatar relatively stable, even when its neighbors struggle. For global energy, Qatar's role is massive. It's one of the top exporters of liquefied natural gas, and its ability to influence gas prices means a lot for countries like India and the Philippines, which depend on LNG imports for their power grids. Any disruption, whether due to conflict or sanctions, would have ripple effects worldwide. Qatar may not support Iran outright, but its refusal to isolate Tehran keeps critical communication channels open. Is this diplomacy or dangerous neutrality? Country number 1, Lebanon. Topping the list is Lebanon, specifically the influence of Hezbollah, which remains one of Iran's closest allies in the region. Though Lebanon's official government walks a more balanced path, Hezbollah's military and political power makes it a de facto Iranian satellite. Iran has long armed and funded Hezbollah, and in return, the group has offered Tehran a direct line of influence into Israel's borders. Despite economic crisis and political gridlock, Hezbollah continues to control large portions of Lebanon's security infrastructure and has vowed to keep importing Iranian fuel and weapons, regardless of sanctions. This relationship isn't just symbolic. In 2025, Israeli airstrikes have once again targeted Hezbollah positions, making Lebanon a frontline state in Iran's regional confrontations. Any major conflict involving Iran almost certainly pulls Lebanon into the fray. For India and the Philippines, the risk is indirect, but real. Global oil markets watch Lebanon closely. Conflict there can ripple through the Mediterranean, slowing cargo and energy shipping routes. Humanitarian groups, including many with Filipino volunteers, may also find themselves in harm's way. Lebanon's support for Iran runs deep, but is it sustainable in a country facing economic collapse and political paralysis? As the world watches Iran in 2025, these 10 countries reveal the complex and evolving global alliances shaping diplomacy, energy, and regional stability. Some support Tehran for strategic depth, others for economic lifelines, and a few for ideological reasons. But all of them face a crucial question. How long can they afford to back Iran, especially if the West decides to strike back harder? Which country surprised you most? Do you think these alliances make war more likely, or could they be the key to preventing it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If this video helped you understand the world a little better, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Discovering the Earth. Until next time, stay informed and stay curious.